Reading the parsha regarding the Moadim. Dabrel b'nei Yisrael b'martolei Moadei Hashem asher tikrosem mikroi kodesh. These are the designated times of Hashem that you should call them. You should announce them as assemblies of Kodesh. Jews assemble holy assemblies. Elhei Moadoi. These are my holidays. And then the Torah juxtaposes to the Yom Tovim, Sheshes Yomim Teosim Alocha. For 6 days you should do creative activity. B'Yom HaShvi Shabbos Shabboson Mikra Kodesh Kamalocha Lo Sasu. Shabbos Hi LaHashem B'chol Meshusechem. So Shabbos is juxtaposed to the Moadim. So Rashi cites Chazal. What is the relevance of Shabbos to the Moadim? Ma'yin Shabbos Eitzel Moados L'Lamdoch. One who violates, desecrates the Yom Tiv, Malon of Akosuv, Kilu Chilas Shabbosos, as if you violated Shabbos. And one who fulfills and observes the Modos properly, Malon of Olav, Kilu Kimas Shabbosos, is valued as if he fulfilled the Shabbosos. Now the question is, Yom Tiv is Yom Tiv, Shabbos is Shabbos. Shabbos, if one violates Shabbos, the liability is the death penalty. That is the nature of the seriousness of Shabbos. One violates Yom Tiv. It's a losas, it's a negative commandment. One has only a liability of malchus, lashes. So how, if you violate the Yom Tiv, it's like you violated the Shabbos, and if you observe the Yom Tiv, it's valued as if you observed the Shabbos, and it's a whole different concept. Shabbos is what? It's to commemorate God created the world. Yom Tiv, it's a whole different concept. Whether it's Pesach, it's redemption, it's Zman Matan Toraseinu, or whatever it is, Sukkos. Each one has its own innate significance. How, if you observe one, it's as if you observed the Shabbos. If not, it's like you violated the Shabbos. The Gemara tells us in Be'ah, what is the basis for Kedusha Shabbos? When did the Kedusha Shabbos begin? It began at the very beginning of creation. When God created the world, the seventh day was innately holy. And the Gemara refers to it as Kavua V'Kaimi. It was in place immediately. When did the Regalim, or the Chagim, the Moadim, how did they assume their Kedusha? That was the first mitzvah given to us before we left Egypt. Achodesh Zelochem Rosh Chodoshim, the sanctification of the new moon. Now, how do we sanctify? How somebody who has no relevance to holiness, how does he sanctify the month? That ultimately, that an outgrowth of that is the kedusha, the sanctity of the Yom Tiv. So, the nusach, the text of the brachas, let's say on the Yom Tiv, Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh Yisrael Vazmanim. God sanctified us, and because He sanctified us, we have the ability to sanctify time. And if it's a Shabbos and a Yom Tiv, B'Kadesh HaShabbos, the Yisrael Azmanim, God sanctified the Shabbos and the Jews and Yisrael, and we have the ability to sanctify time. Now, what is the basis for sanctity? When did He sanctify us? What is the meaning of Goy Kodosh? We became at Sinai, Akabot Torah, we became a holy people. Anyone who has relevance, where God is connected to that person or that location or that state of being, assumes holiness. Because God is the source and the essence of everything that's kadosh, that's holy. So whatever God has relevance to and attaches himself to, is elevated to a level of holiness. The seventh day of creation, God entered into creation. That was when the world reached its level of completion, of perfection. God entered. His entering into creation brought about that kedusha. And every seventh day, God enters into creation. And therefore, that's Shabbos Kodesh. That's why it's main on the Mabah. Shabbos has a semblance of the world to come, which is a relation with God. That's what it is. So God's presence, that Kedusha exists in this existence. Then He went, and of that Kedusha, He sanctified us. Again, He extended it. He extended Himself to have a permanent relationship with us. As He said, when He entered into a bris with us, He will never abandon us. So we are Goy Kodosh for all time, eternally we're Goy Kodosh. because we have that innate kedusha, he gave us the mitzvah. Now take that holiness which you represent, and you yourself could extend it onto time. It says Mekadosh Yisrael Vazman. But what is the kedusha? What do we have the ability and the capacity to sanctify time? Because of our level of attachment to God, so we're extending that. So what happens actually is the Kedushas Yom Tiv is an outgrowth of the Moed, is an outgrowth of Kedusha Shabbos. Because what is the basis for the sanctity of Shabbos? God's presence in existence. What's the basis for our Kedusha, our holiness? God's relevance to us. And because of that, we're able to extend that onto time, which is what? Which is God's holiness. So one who violates the Yom Tov, although it doesn't have the same liability as Shabbos, but it's an outgrowth of that Kedusha. Therefore, if one does not observe the Moadim, it's as if he violated the Shabbos. He did not observe the Shabbos. It's an insensitivity for that Kedusha, which is God's presence. And one who adheres and esteems and reveres the Yom Tiv, God says, I value that as if you revere the Shabbos, which is God's presence in this existence.